Welcome to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast, where you'll hear inspirational stories, encouraging news, and in-depth interviews with authors, influencers, CEOs, and thought leaders. Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. Bold ideas, brave pursuits, boundless inspiration. Hello, Janet. Thank you so much for joining me here on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. Now, for those who join us on social media, who love what you do, they know that I get to talk to you sometimes on your program, but I'm really excited to share you with my audience this time. So I want to say wholeheartedly welcome to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. Thank you for joining me today.
I am so excited to be here with you, Dr. Angela. I just couldn't wait for me to see your beautiful face again. And like you said, you're on my podcast, and I'm so excited to be on yours.
Absolutely. You are such a wealth of information. So I'm so glad that you were able to join me for this series. And for so many people, we hear many times the steps and the tips that we should take to deal with a particular thing, but we never get the behind the scenes, if you will, on the people who are successfully doing what they're teaching. So I know today someone is going to pick up something that they can definitely integrate into their lives. So let me ask the first question. When you were a little girl during your childhood years, what did you think you were going to do as an adult? So many girls, I'm going to be a ballerina, a teacher, those types of things. But what did you think you were going to be when you were an adult?
I thought I was going to really be a hospital administrator. The person that kind of oversaw everything in the hospital, how it flowed, managing people, communicating with doctors and nurses. I just saw myself in that arena.
I have some friends who that's the choice that they chose for their college degrees. And it is a very interesting place. I think folks forget that though hospitals are there to take care of the sick, the wounded, the injured, all of that, it is a business. Much like some of the other places that we go on particular days, people forget that everything is a business, and you have to have competent people that are in that behind the scenes, making sure that the world goes round for that business. I think you would have been awesome at that. But
yes, I would have. But then when I went to college and started studying it, I realized, I don't have the stomach for being in the hospital. I just didn't at that time. Things changed when I became a caregiver for my mother, but at that time it was like, oh no. So then I just kind of went the path of business.
Yes. Same general direction, just different road.
Yes.
I can definitely understand that. Now, when it comes to speaking of choosing our roads and our paths and how we go along on this journey, how do you make sure that those meaningful things, those achievable things, how do you determine what path, what road you're going to take?
Well, a lot of times, of course, it has to be something I truly love and truly enjoy doing. But also, I feel I want to be able to make an impact on someone's life. And then once those things are determined, then usually for me, it's just basically about really setting out a plan and really just kind of working the plan. For example, the podcast. The podcast came to me at a time where I wasn't really thinking about it, but one of my mentors said, Janet, your message needs to be to everyone who could listen to it. So then, I started doing research and doing things like that. And then I just started just really doing what I love to do to now. I can't believe how big it's grown and all the wonderful people I've met along the way.
Absolutely. And I think that podcasts themselves have evolved and changed, because I remember when people used to say, "Oh, how's your little podcast coming along?" Like they thought that it was something kind of small time, or no one's going to listen to that. Who wants to listen to you type of thing. And now we realize that anyone who is an influencer, CEO, entrepreneur in business, one of the best things you can do is have a podcast so that you can connect with your community and your tribe. So you are so true there. Now, when it comes to trying to go along on this journey, because we're all on a journey, plus looking at personal values, what are some ways that you make sure that you don't fall off into those potholes that are sometimes on those roads? How do you make sure that you stay in tune, aligned with your personal values?
I believe it's a lot of times my interaction with my clients. That's important to me because of what I do, Dr. Angela. They have to trust me not only in their homes, but also in their businesses, in their office. And I want to be able to feel like I'm making an impact on them so they can continue to do what I really say, what they're called to do in this world. Some of my clients are educators, and some are just decided to just really be stay-at-home parents, and just being able to help them. And that's really kind of how I really gauge what I'm doing, and really staying on track, because it's like, and it's nice the conversations I can have with my clients. It's like, I think we need to do this. I'm working with a client now who, after several years of her mother passing, she's decided to go through the things and slowly donate and slowly get rid of whatever she doesn't need, and really just helping guide her on that path, not pushing her where she doesn't want to go. There's a couple of spaces she's not ready to deal with. And I said, hey, that's okay. Let's work over here, because if we do this space, then this will give your father more space to hang his stuff. And it's like, and that's what I like to do. I like to be able to make people almost feel good and happy, not really dredge the whole process of, oh gosh, Janet's coming over here and we got to get organized. And I'm not, but to look forward to it.
Mhm, mhm. And you said a very important thing there along the vein when we're talking about personal values, and that is that people have to be able to trust you to invite them into your homes. And though I know that you work with the everyday person, but you also work with celebrity folks. So that means that you need to be able to pass that mustard, right? You need to be able to pass their vibe check, if you will, because not everyone wants to invite everyone into their home. I know that I'm that type of person. I don't want everyone in my personal spaces. And you're right, you do have to be someone who is of a particular way about your personal values. You want to be a person of integrity. So I love that you place that first and foremost. Now you said another thing, and that is you want to make it fun for folks, right? I say the same thing. If we have to be in here together, I want us to have a good time. I want you to learn something, but I
Mhm.
also want you to go away feeling like it was worth the time in the same space. With that being said, how do you help people understand that though you are tackling a very big project, right? You have to be able to break that down into actionable steps. How do you help people understand big thing has little steps, and this is where we start?
So with that, I give them the vision of the end. Like, what this is what, and the making sure that I'm going in the right direction that they want to go to. Because I mean, I may have a vision for a project and they be like, no, that Jen, that's not what I want. So making sure that's their vision and we work towards it. But then I share with them just little chunks. This week we're going to work on this. We'll clear this. And once this is clear, we'll take these to be donated. And then next week, let's work on this. And even sometimes my clients do get a little discouraged, overwhelmed, or even sometimes just distracted, because they're like, Janet, I'd rather just be by the pool. I understand that. So do I. But to share with
Totally.
them, but to share with them, okay, if we focus on this, this, and this, then by this date, because as we get closer to whatever event, holiday, you won't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it. And also I try not to do it, try not to overwhelm them. Sometimes I'll make it fun when we go through things. I may see something like, oh yeah, I had this, I wore this, just to make
Yeah.
it a little bit fun and lively, or when we come across things and I'm like, wow, look at this, it might be something that they would consider a family heirloom historic. I'm like, this is great. What are you going to do? Are you going to tell your dad or your brothers? So to make the journey fun while we're still getting stuff done.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that because I think for so many folks, they don't tackle stuff because they're overwhelmed with the bigness of it all, right? So they put it off and put it off and put it off until either it's the last minute and they still feel overwhelmed, or they just do just enough to get by and they're not really happy with the end result, or they have to bring in professionals to help them, get where you're supposed to be. But I am a firm believer that professionals should not be used as a last resort for many of the things that we want to do, but instead consult it first, right? So instead of getting overwhelmed, instead of hitting our head, just say, you know what? This is something best left to a professional. Let's get on the phone and make it happen. So I love your approach to that gentle yet direct way of doing it, and I think it probably helps them to accomplish their end goal as well. I love that, Janet.
And then also, Dr. Angela, I have a client and she always says this. She said, I am Janet dependent and I don't care if anybody knows, because for her, unfortunately, one of the colleges locally closed, just closed its doors. Her granddaughter was going there. And she's like, Janet, she's like, we got to turn my second bedroom into her dorm room. And that's what we did. And sometimes she'll call me for different things. But, like you said, I'm always the first person to call. And if I can help her, I will. If I can't, I'm like, hey, let's see who else we can get to do this project. So
Yeah.
you're right. Don't, the last resort, make it sometimes that first phone call.
Yeah, it had totally changed how you're trying to do what you want to do. And sometimes you will spend more money trying to DIY this project than you would have if you had simply left it to the professionals, because you know that it's going to be done right. There's a sense of accountability, not just to you as the person hiring the professional, but because that professional wants to take care of their brand. You're not going to do anything that's going to tarnish your business. So I have to, if anything they pick up, please call first. Don't wait till the last minute. I'm that person. I'm calling you first. I know I know some things are just better left to professionals. Now, when it comes to those tools and strategies, many times we will have something available at the ready, but we, even as professionals, may be slow to react, or we're trying to learn the lesson or utilize our own before we collaborate with someone else. Can you think of any lessons along the way that you have learned where you should have used a tool first, or hired out, delegated to someone else, especially in the very beginning stages of your business? Now you're a seasoned professional and I know you know what to do. But when you were first starting out, tell us about, how did you determine, when do I need to collab with someone else, or when do I need to do this myself?
I think in the beginning, I think most businesses, they're thinking about the bottom line. So they try to do everything themselves. But then it got to the point where, specifically when administrative things, it was taking me a little bit longer than it should, because, there were certain things I'm just not skilled in. And
Yeah.
I finally did hire somebody because I realized when it came to things like my newsletter, different types of correspondence, even sometimes just my images, it was so much easier just to say, hey, this is what I need. You kind of have a vision of what I like, than me trying to spend hours trying to figure out a color, a font, a photo. It's like, and they'll just like whip it up. you know, and I still remember the day when I needed, everybody wanted just like that one page fire, but they wanted it, but everybody wanted it to look flashy, colorful. I was trying to do something and I said, you know what? I need to hire somebody to do this. And the person did it. It matched my then colors.
Mhm.
And I just really liked the way that they were able to just kind of pick up on me, my personality, what I liked, but also how I want to present myself. And actually, that person's been with me for at least 15 years. We were talking like, We've been together for 15 years." But that's what happens. And
Wow.
now I just like, "Hey, I need this text or this," and that's it. It's done.
Absolutely. And I could not agree with you more. I think that in the beginning stages, it is about that bottom line because folks are going, listen, I don't have the money for this. I want to do this. I want to do the other thing. Or they're trying to use their money for a different occasion. But there is nothing like really understanding that investing in your business, spending the money on your business will pay off because it speaks for your business when you're not there. So if you want that clientele, seek professional assistance in those things. Unless you, unless you really know how to do that, please get that professional assistance because it makes all the difference in the world. I have a pretty good eye for certain things. However, like you said, when it comes to logos or flyers, stuff like that, hire someone, they can whip it up just like that. And you're going, wow, this is why you're the professional. So I have to agree with you there. I love it. Now, when it comes to gauging your progress on anything that you are doing, again, along that vein of resources and the tools that you use, are there any particular apps or websites that, including social media, that you say, I have to check in with them every day? I have to utilize this every day. My business world will not spin if I am not utilizing this particular resource. What would be maybe one or two that really come to mind that are useful for your business?
Well, one is definitely a social media scheduler. That is like that's supposed to be a lifeline for every business. And because what it does, it allows you to schedule your social media so you don't necessarily have to be posting every single day, or some people do it several times a day. So that's one thing. But also another thing I use just to gauge how things are, Dr. Angela, is a simple spreadsheet. I created a spreadsheet, and then what I do is once a month at the end of the month, I will go to each platform, write down numbers, figures, this, that, and the other, and really compare and see what's working and what's not. Also, the social media platform that I have actually gives me weekly reports. So it kind of gives me an idea. But that's really how I gauge because sometimes, specifically, sometimes you can think, oh, I'm not doing good. But then when you look at the numbers,
Yeah.
look like, wow, I'm not doing that
Oh, wow.
bad.
That video, that reel really did do good.
I know. And then sometimes it makes you realize, okay, so I posted an empty cup of empty Reese's water ice cup. It did a lot more than any of my tips on organizing. Okay. So sometimes it just makes you know, okay, I need to add a little bit of this or I need to do that. So that's
Right.
what that does. But yeah, one is the social media schedule, but also sometimes spreadsheets can be wonders. I actually got to see behind the scenes of a colleague and how she organizes herself for her videos. She basically has not only the subject, she has what she's going to wear, she has the topic, and then all the different. I mean, it was amazing. Just seeing that spreadsheet was amazing. But
Yeah.
it's like sometimes it's just like the basic things, and we just have to tweak it to meet our needs.
Absolutely. To me, there is nothing like a spreadsheet. The same way that we have to have run sheets for the radio program, for the television program, Excel or spreadsheets, however, whatever platform you want to use, is a must have. I cannot agree with you more because there's nothing like the numbers. And it's
Yep.
the numbers that really and truly help make the world spin. We have to have that. And I too am grateful for the behind the scenes for the social media, the dashboard information that they give to us. And
Hmm.
I remember I saw one reel where the guy's kind of sitting in the dark and he's apparently looking at his numbers and he has this look on his face like, what? And it's because he's saying, I spent 2 hours making this reel and only 20 people watched or liked. But I spent 5 seconds posting this other thing and it has 100,000 likes and 3,000 shares. And it's like, you just never know what someone wants, what's going to catch their attention, what's going to do the best on the algorithm. And the moment that you think that you have it all figured out, something changes and it keeps you on your toes. So having that flexibility but still having those concrete numbers, I like that. I like your client that knows what she's going to say, what she's going to wear. Yeah, that's me with TV, same thing, right? So it's like, make sure it's not the same colors back to back and all of those things. So there's nothing like having that information. I love that. I think someone's going to have an aha moment on that for sure. Now, last question for you. When it comes to goal setting, I know that some people celebrate small goals. Some people celebrate only those medium. Some say if it's not a big goal, like a million, whatever. If it's not a really big goal, then we're not going to celebrate it. We're not ordering pizza until everyone hits the mark, right? But how do you choose to celebrate those goals that you have achieved? And at what level do you celebrate?
I think I celebrate them at all levels.
Hmm.
I mean, there are times when I may look at a TikTok reel I've done, and it's got like 500 people at a certain point in the day. I celebrate that. Um, then, of course, if I get a big project, I actually not get the big, but actually end it successfully. Everybody's happy. I celebrate. And even sometimes when I do, I have my own goals. Like there's maybe certain things I want to write, certain things I want to create. Once I'm finished, I celebrate. And the different times I celebrate, sometimes I may just buy myself some flowers and just kind of put them throughout the house. Sometimes I may say, you know what, this is the night where I'm just going to do takeout as I'm not going to cook. That's the way I celebrate. Sometimes I might celebrate with a person, a friend. And if we can't get together, in person, we'll do a Zoom celebration. So I have all different types and ways to celebrate. And sometimes if it's something really huge and big, I'll celebrate by maybe taking a couple of days off and just kicking my feet up and doing nothing.
Oh, I love the way you celebrate those things. Absolutely. And I remember when I first started off, people used to think that it was a little odd that I would celebrate like with a lunch. And sometimes it was just me. It was something that I said, I am not going to order this particular thing that I like until I reach this goal, right? So it was a little bit of a delayed gratification, but boy, was I so excited to not only reach that goal, but to be able to eat whatever that particular dish was again, right? And of course, it had to be something that I really liked, not something that if I didn't have it for another 90 days, who cares? But that I really wanted. So you are so right there. I think celebrating those little things along the way helps remind us that we can do it. We are doing it. So bring on the next thing. If your thought process is anything like mine, it's like, yes, check. Let's do the next thing. This is gonna be awesome. So absolutely encouraging ourselves the same way that we encourage those who hire us for professional services. I love it.
That's
I
true.
love it. Mhm.
That's true.
Now, Janet, if someone wants to reach out to you, be it to hire you to find out more about your services, or perhaps you have you as a guest on their program, what's the best way to do that?
Well, of course, you can go to my website at janetmtaylor.com, or you can check out my Instagram and TikTok. I am Janet the Organizer.
I love it. I love it. Thank you again, Janet, for being a guest here on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.
Thank you so much, Dr. Angela. Always a pleasure to join you.
Absolutely.